Today's lesson is Chapter 3, Lesson 2, Estimating Decimals. So we talked about comparing different decimals and making sure that we always lined up the decimals and how to name them and all that on the last lesson. What we're going to do now is we're going to talk about estimating using decimals, and there's a couple different things we're going to do. The first thing I want to show you is clustering. And clustering is an easy way of estimating when you see a couple numbers that look like they're in the same region. For example, let's talk, of course, because I haven't had dinner yet tonight, about tacos. So if I had a taco that was 1.94 ounces, a taco that was 2.02 ounces, and a taco that was 2.13 ounces, about how many total ounces worth of tacos would I have eaten? So on this case, I look and I see that all three of those numbers are really close to the same number, which is an easy number for me to work with. And what number would that be? It'd be 2, because 1.94, well, 1.9 is pretty close to 2, so 1.94 is even closer to 2. So I'm going to pretend that one is 2. And the next one is 2.02, and that's really close to 2, so I'm going to round that one also to 2. And then the last one, 2.13, I can also, it's not quite as close, but it's still pretty close to 2, so I'm going to round that to 2. So if I'm going to estimate it, I can use clustering, and I get an easy answer. I know my answer is going to be very close to 6 ounces, or about 6 ounces. You can use that with bigger numbers too. For example, if one student had $5.02 and another student had $4.94 and a third student had, say $5.08. About how much did they all have? That's another situation where I could cluster it. 5.02, that's very close to 5. 4.94, that's very close to 5. And 5.08, that's very close to 5. So I would say that they had about $15 combined. So that's clustering. So I want you to try and cluster these three numbers. So use a cluster on these three numbers to add them and get a close answer. Okay, so add those. Cluster those numbers, add them, and so pause and solve right now. Okay, so 3.97 you could round that to 4. 4.04 you could round to 4, and 3.88 you could round to 4, because they're all very close to 4. So if I added them all together, it'd be about 12. Another one is what they will often have you do is they'll say estimate by rounding to the indicated place value. So for example, if we had 3.92 plus 6.48, and it says to the ones. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the ones column. Well, which one is the ones column? This is the ones column. So as always, what we do is we look to the right, and so that 9 tells us that 3 needs to be rounded up to 4. And then we drop the rest of it. So it's going to be 4.00, but we don't need to put 4.00, we're just going to put 4. And then we have 6. Look to the right. That 4 tells us to round down, so then these two both become zeros. So it's 6.00, which is just 6. So then all we have is 4 plus 6, so our answer is about 10. So let's try another one. 4.13 plus 3.89 to the 10th. Pause and solve. Okay, so tenths. Those are the tenths. We're going to look to the right. So that 3 tells us to round down, so we're going to keep it at 4.1, and this would be a 0, but since it's at the end, we don't have to add it. Then we look over here to that 9. That tells us we need to round that 8 up to be a 9. So we would have 3.9. Then we'd line up our decimals. 4.1 plus 3.9. 9 plus 1 is 10. Carry the 1. 4 plus 3 is 7, plus 1 is 8. Drop our decimal, and our answer is 8. There is another way you can do, let's practice some multiplication estimation. And if it doesn't give you, if you get a number like 25.06 times, let's say 3.9, and it doesn't tell you what place value to estimate, then we can just estimate the way that best suits us. So what I like to do is round to a number that is easy to use, that is very close to the numbers. So since it didn't say an indicated place value and it didn't say cluster, it just said estimate, we're going to make these numbers as easy as possible. So what's an easy number that's right close to 25.06? 25. What's an easy number that's really close to 3.9? Now, you would say 4. You wouldn't say 3 because 3.9 is actually closer to 4 than it is to 3. So we're going to do 25 times 4, and we could round that. That would be 100. So I want you to try one just like that. Let's do 3.04 times 10.31. Pause and solve. Okay, so 3.04 is very close to 3. 10.31 is very close to 10. So then we have an easy problem. 3 times 10, which gives you 30. Okay, the last thing it's going to have you do is it's going to have you do a range for a sum. So we can look at a problem like 6.9 plus 3.4 plus 9.2. It's going to say find a range, and we're going to use what you call front end estimation. All we're going to do is look at the front part of the problem, and we're going to estimate a range. So one way we could do it, in order to estimate the lowest it could possibly be, we're going to round all of these down. So if we were rounding 6.9, we could round it to 6. Now we're only going to do this if it's asking us to find the range. 3.4 we'd round down to 3. 9.2 we round down to 9. So if we were estimating a range, the lowest this answer could possibly be is 6 plus 3 is 9, 9 plus 9 is 18. Now the opposite of that, we're going to do it off to the left, is if we rounded all of them up. So if we rounded 6.9 up, we'd round it up to 7. 3.4 we round up to 4. 9.2 we round up to 10. And we know that since we're rounding up, all of our numbers are bigger than their original numbers. So like 7 is bigger than 6.9. So we know that our answer on this has to be higher than the real answer. So we're going to add all three of those together. 7 plus 4 is 11. 11 plus 10 is 21. So we know that the highest our answer can be is 21, and the lowest our answer could be is 18. So we know our answer has to fall in between those. The real answer does. So our range would be from 18 to 21. I want you to try doing that, and what you do is you look at the first number, and you round all down, and then you look at the first number, and you round all up. So I want you to do that for this problem. This one's straight out of the book. So it is 7.8 plus 31.39 plus 6.95. Now I want you to look at the furthest number. Actually, I want you to look at the ones, and I want you to figure out what the range would be. So what we're doing is we're basically cutting off the decimal low and then cutting off the decimal high. So I want you to pause and solve, and then you can double check your answer with me. So pause. Okay, so first we'll do low, and we'll do lows over here this time. If we round on the other side of the decimal, this is going to become a 7. We're just going to round it down. 31 is just going to become a 30. 6.95 is just going to become 6. So we have 7 plus 1 is 8. 8 plus 6 is 14. Carry the 1. 44. So the lowest number it could be is 44. And the reason that that's the lowest it could be is because we rounded everything down to the nearest whole number. Now, let's do the highest number. So 7.8 we'd round up to 8. 31.39 we'd round up to 32. 6.95 we round up to 7. So then we'd add those together. 8 plus 2 is 10. 10 plus 7 is 17. Carry the 1. So 47. So The highest our number could be is 47. So our range would be 44 to 47. And that's all there is for tonight. So in order for me to know that you watch this lesson, I want you to create your own math problem, just like one of the ones we just did, and then solve it. And also draw a taco. See you tomorrow.